All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's call this meeting to order. It's the Community-Oriented Policing Committee here on May 11th at 2 o'clock p.m. And why don't you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Minto.
I'm here.
City Manager Wendy Caserman.
Here.
Sheriff's Department Captain Keitra.
Present.
Santee School District Mike Oleander.
Here.
Santana High School Brian Wilbur. Here. Santee Collaborative Janessa Nedney.
Here.
Casa Kate Duffy.
Here.
Dr. Mark Foreman.
Here.
And Danette McLaughlin.
Here.
Is that a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So do I have a motion to approve the April 13, 2026 regular meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. We're going to call the roll. If you are a yes, say yes. If you're no, say no. And if you're an abstention, please say abstain.
Okay. Mayor Minto.
Aye.
City Manager Caserman.
Aye.
Captain Keitra.
Aye.
Santee School District.
Aye.
Santana High School.
Yes.
Santee Collaborative.
Aye.
CASA.
Aye.
Dr. Mark Foreman.
Yes.
And motion approved unanimously.
Thank you very much. So today, item number 4 is a presentation on the Trauma Resilient Educational Communities, also known as TREC. And who's giving that presentation today? Anybody? Oh, there you are. Come on up. So I just came from a meeting where I was rather flippant, so I'm continuing that vein, I guess.
Yes, we met, probably around 25 years ago. I actually brought Youth Voice San Diego banner in partnership with San Diego Police Department on it. So
it seems like
Mayor Minto,
forever
great to
ago.
see you again.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So, okay, sorry about that, James. Okay. So my name is Dana Brown. I'm a fifth-generation immigrant born with unearned privilege on the land of Sauk and Meskwaki. I'm an Iowa farm girl, and now I live on the beautiful land of the Kumeyaay Nation here in San Diego. Grateful to be here with all of you talking about our trauma-resilient educational communities TREC model. We really want to reach 8.9 billion people around the world, and you can see our vision. We want to inspire resilience individually and organizationally. And so I'll take you through very briefly, super high level, how we are doing this with our TREC model. We have our foundational themes. I'm an external consultant with an educational network here throughout California, several other states in our nation. That is called, the brand is Learn for Life here in California, Flex High Schools in other states in our nation. And we have all of this is through relationships. We are harmed in relationships, and we are on our healing journey through relationships. So the epicenter of everything is about building trusted relationships. We do that through some different courses. I've got 3 college-level courses. We have an accreditation model. I've got a pamphlet here to share with the esteemed Santee City Council and Mayor John Minto. And so we do this through love and compassion, cultural humility, restorative justice, restorative practices, really with the mindset of equity, inclusion, and belonging, and sparking that intrinsic motivation within. And so anything that we do, I'm a national trainer. I'm grateful to have trained over 25,000 people around our nation, cross-sector in a social-ecological model and across the lifespan. If I only have 15 minutes, or if it is an 8-hour train the trainer, it's always through the lens of pace of science. And so it's the epidemiology, neurobiology, biology, epigenetics, and resilience building. It's a very deep-rooted, holistic, comprehensive model. If you're not aware of Dr. Vincent Folletti, he's a co-principal investigator of the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, and he said it's the most comprehensive model he has ever seen. And Jeffrey is graciously, we're going to watch a very brief 5-minute video on explaining the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. Thank you, James.
What does your parents' divorce have to do with your risk for heart disease? If your mother had a drinking problem when you were growing up, are you more likely to suffer from depression as an adult? Here's what you should know about ACEs. ACEs stand for Adverse Childhood Experiences, extremely stressful events that can happen to a child growing up. Some experiences are so stressful that they can alter brain development, as well as the immune system, increasing the risk of lifelong health and social problems in adulthood. The term comes from the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, landmark research that shed new light on the root cause of everything from stroke and liver disease to substance abuse and mental illness. In the late 1990s, an epidemiologist from the Centers for Disease Control and a preventive medicine doctor at Kaiser Permanente set out to understand the association between childhood experience and lifelong health. They asked over 17,000 people in the Kaiser Health Plan in San Diego about their health history, as well as difficult questions about their experiences growing up. Anda and Felitti tallied up 10 different kinds of adversity in this largely middle-class and college-educated population. They were stunned to see how common ACEs were. 21% of all respondents were sexually abused as children. 19% grew up with someone who suffered mental illness. 28% had been physically abused. And 2 out of 3 respondents had experienced at least one ACE. The researchers next looked at how someone's ACE score, or the number of adversities they experienced, related to a wide array of serious health and social problems. They saw that the more ACEs someone had, the greater their risk for poor outcomes compared with someone with no ACEs. Someone with an ACE score of 4 had twice the risk of heart disease and cancer. Someone with an ACE score of 5 had an 8 times greater chance of being an alcoholic. And those with an ACE score of 6 or more, on average, died 20 years earlier. With every major problem they looked at in the ACE study, the risk went up for each additional adverse experience in childhood. As Dr. Robert Anda says, what's predictable is preventable. It's important to remember that ACEs are not destiny. ACEs are a tool for understanding the health of a population as a whole. For individuals, an ACE score can be a tool for understanding their own risk for health and social problems and empower them to make changes for themselves and their children. ACEs tend to get passed down from generation to generation and are common across all income levels, races, and cultures. But increasingly, people of all different professions and backgrounds are coming together to discuss how ACEs affect their communities. They're finding new ways to treat and prevent ACEs. Many doctors are starting to screen their patients for ACEs as part of their medical history. More schools are becoming trauma-informed, considering the source of problem behavior when disciplining their students, instead of immediately suspending or expelling them. To learn more about interrupting the cycle of adversity and improving health and well-being for the next generation, please visit kpjrfilms.co.
Thank you so much, James. So the ACE study is the largest public health study in our nation that millions of people have not heard of yet. Kaiser Permanente in La Jolla was released in May of 1998, and Dr. Folletti is a very dear friend of mine. We truly feel he is a global hero because the ACE is expanding literally all over the world. So we have a couple of videos that we have done with Dr. Folletti. And we have a trauma resilient professional certification that is available. It is 3 college-level courses, and you can take that certification. If an individual as an educator would like CEUs, they can get 6 CEUs from UCSD. And in our courses, whether it's me doing it in person or virtually around the nation or asynchronous and online, you can take our TREC model, the Trauma Resilient Health Professional Certification. There are 3 courses. This is course 101, the Foundations of PACES Science and Trauma Resilient Practices. We really ground everyone. They'll take about 9 hours to complete the certification, asynchronous online. And we ground everyone in the 101 course. It's all science-backed and research-based, so that's our Granite Foundation. And then we really want to help individuals and organizations, so the culture of a school, of a service provider, of a grassroots, of a city. We really want to help build resilience communities and that self-care and mindfulness for individual and collective well-being. And then our 301 course looks at the history of systemic racism and systems-induced trauma, all research-backed, preschool to prison pipeline, all the different ways that systems, cross-sector, and social ecological model unintentionally can traumatize children, youth, families, and elders in our communities around the nation. These are the badges that you have to receive the badge on the upper right-hand corner, the Trauma Resilient Professional badge. The first one would be the 101 course would be the PACES Science Advocate. When you're finished with that one, the second 2 badges will be the 201 course for self-care practitioners and mindfulness facilitator. And then the 301 course, the Cultural Humility course, is relationship builder and equity-focused leader for the Trauma Resilient Professional badge. We have accompanying course workbooks that accompany all of the courses. And then we have a trauma resilient healthcare certification that's also asynchronous online for the healthcare professionals. I want to give a shout out here to Janessa and to Mike because last Friday, Janessa, we have a free trauma resilient parent certification for any parent or guardian literally all over the world. And last Friday and this Friday and next Friday, Janessa has led a trauma resilient 3-part workshop for the parents, and it's in person at the Cameron Y. And so just want to give a shout out to Santee School District for what you're leading. You are the first in our county to lead this type of a workshop supporting the parents. So thank you to both of you. And we have a trauma resilient Spanish certification that is also free for any parent or guardian around the world. Our TREC team is translating the entire 3 courses into Spanish, but that will take a while. We just really want to reach people because I know for me, I have a high ACE score, and when I learned about this, it was an epiphany for me, and I said, I need to learn as much as I can and plant seeds within the hearts and souls of others. All of our PACES Science toolkits are available for parents, and then we have one for educators, and then we have one for students. They're all available for free on our TREC website. And then there is an organizational accreditation that we support service providers and other schools through. Community wraparound, if you're in Mayor Minto would know, that started at Cherokee Point Elementary at the curfew sweeps. They're now a 501c3. They're our first TREC accredited organization outside of our internal network. And then I'm supporting presently the Institute for Public Strategies with their TREC accreditation. And they are in Riverside and Los Angeles and San Diego. And excitedly, the TREC self-study team is their C-suite. So I'm very, very excited about that best practice. And, what am I doing? I'm not sure why, James, what did I do wrong? So I'm just grateful to be here with all of you. I thank you so much, James, whoever created the opportunity for me to come and be with all of you. A shout out to Santee School District, truly. I've had the blessing of collaborating closely. My colleague, Craig Bestwick, and myself did it in person right when Janessa was going on maternity leave. And so we've been hanging around for a couple of years now, 3 years, I believe, with Santee School District. Thank you to each of you for everything you do. Bless you for your heart-centered leadership and who you serve, children, youth, and families and elders in our communities. Just grateful to be here, and I want to open it up to any questions if you'd like to, and then I'd love to give all of you a TREC brochure.
Do we have any speaker slips?
No, we don't have any speaker split.
Thank you. Why don't you just bring that up to me, and I'll send them down. And then I am about 99% that Dr. Foreman's got something to say. Would that be correct?
Add a 0.9 on there. Yes. Thank you for that. I think we may have met a long time ago also.
We met when I came out to do a 45-minute presentation at the Santee Community Collaborative, right? No?
Probably not. I'm
No.
thinking even through Dr. Don Griffin and some other.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've been involved in the ACEs for a long time too. So just parallel, not converging too often, I think. So this is great, the work that you've been doing and where you've brought it so far. If it's okay, I'd like to kind of pull what you did and bring it into this group here so that it can get back out to the community, because we are being watched and everything. Is that I'm wondering if the law enforcers in the room, retired or current, recognize some of the artifacts of the ACEs of exposures to adverse childhood experiences, the heart disease, liver disease, cancers, diabetes, suicide, et cetera. Doesn't sound familiar to long effects of being a law enforcer or in public safety in general. If the firefighters were here, they'd probably be raising their hands too. That research empirically is pretty solid, that you do that career long enough, here comes cancers, heart disease. And there's a commonality. Several years ago, a book came out called Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. Kevin Gill Martin was the author. Many cops have read it, and he started naming certain things, and it's the unavoidable, unrelenting exposure to stress, just like Folletti and or naming for kids. And this parallel of high ACE scores in the prison population and the addiction population in law enforcement. If you look, and we can answer honestly, if you go around the panel, I'm not going to go around the panel and say, hey, let's count our ACEs here, because it is an artifact of living, of life, but the importance of it, of the community knowing that the people that are going to come when they call have at least identified for themselves internally, even if it's not within a group or anything, that they carry stuff with them while they're showing up on the call. And they're showing up on the call. They can't not go unless they want a new job. So any of us, over here, we call on the sheriff show up. They get exposed to whatever they're exposed to, and it could be activating whatever was wired into their nervous system. So the power of what you have articulated here, coming through childhood, and then we're all adults in here. You may not act it sometimes, but we are adults. We carry it with us, and it just sits there and simmers. It festers. And so it's the resilience training that you're doing that's so powerful to be able to say, let's work on our resilience. A lot of times law enforcement think, oh, I'll exercise, I'll do this, I'll do that. It's the first entry level. But getting into the mindfulness, the compassion practices, and all the things that you were naming there, that first chart I saw, I go, oh, dude, wow, I love it.
Well, Dr. Foreman, I had and Mayor Minto knows him, Sergeant Jeff Pace. He asked me to come down and do, I think it was like an hour and a half with the Chula Vista PD. And because I brought this for Mayor Minto, actually, this is how we met. With San Diego and City Heights, Mid-City Police Division in partnership with San Diego Police Department. That's how we met and hung out a lot together. And through So I'm hanging out with a lot of you then, from street to all the way up to all the captains that became assistant chiefs and Lawrence, so I had been told by many of the law enforcement that, which is so tragic to me, that when they retire within 5 years, they're dead. And I couldn't find, because I customize, if I do foster, whatever, boilerplate, yes. And then I customize and I find research relative to whatever sector has asked me to come and present or train. I couldn't find the research behind it. And so I didn't put it in. I did put in the research with law enforcement, which is so staggering to me. God bless them for what they do. I've had to call 911, God bless them. Higher domestic violence, higher alcoholism, higher suicide, which is so staggering to me. And so truly, bless you for what you do. Our TREC team is so passionate to get this science and research out there because, like Dr. Robert Anda said in the video, what's predictable is preventable. And it doesn't mean if I have a high ACE score, it doesn't mean I'm going to die 20. It does not mean that, but rather it means that when you know these things, when we know better, we should do better. And so how do we transform our churches, our schools, our law enforcement, our agencies, our systems, cross-sector in a social ecological model across the lifespan? Because exactly what you're speaking to, Dr. Foreman, this starts in utero, the epigenetics, this starts in the womb, and that's carried on. So it's I won't go off on a monologue. I'll try to stay within my time.
Great.
But thank you, Dr. Foreman.
So, I want to thank you for pointing out my past. Just for a little background, it's interesting. Everybody knows here that I was former law enforcement. And so how is it that we really met? Well, I think it was about 2024. This is part of my childhood adversity is memory loss. In 2004, we started working on resiliency in kids. And cops, you always go out, do your curfew sweeps, you do your truancy sweeps and all these things. And I kept thinking about what's the common denominator, because we were not openly talking yet about childhood adversities. We weren't talking about how it affected us later on in life as adults, whether it was a physical or mental thing. And one of the things that we learned is that kids were, for instance, absenteeing themselves from school for a variety of reasons. And that went everything from, just boredom to actually abuse. And so what we found is that instead of just addressing the poor behavior of being out of school or being out late in curfew, let's find out what the underlying reason is for those and treat the cause of it. And so what we did is we started bringing together not just law enforcement and probation and the district attorney, but community-based groups. And that's how we actually met, is because we started interviewing all the kids that were being picked up. And some nights we're picking up 100 kids, or even in truancy sweeps, 30, 40 kids at a time. And the first thing they did is they came in and we developed this where they didn't just meet with cops right off the bat, but they met with counselors and whatnot and talked about what was going on with them. And we identified an awful lot of kids that were being abused at home. And so that gave us an opportunity to start a process of helping them. Because, Mark, you made a comment about looking at the, childhood adversity right off the bat. Well, it wasn't really to help the kids right off the bat. What we did is we took an approach that if we did stop the childhood adversities now, then we wouldn't have adult offenders, for instance. Because you grow up along the way and you learn all the tolerances that society gives. Whether it's, okay, so you're just out of school a couple days a week. It's not a big deal. Kids always got out of school, always truant. Well, there were a lot of kids that did mischief and, had fun and things of that nature, and that's one thing. But kids who leave on a regular basis or can't get up in the morning to go to school, for instance, there's a real reason. And I think as administrators at the school, you see that very clearly. There's kids 30 minutes late every morning for class, or maybe they missed the first class, but they show up for the second class. What's the reason for that? And a lot of these programs today, we didn't really talk about this stuff, did we?
No.
We didn't really know what it was.
Right.
And so now let's fast forward, 25 years, 26, whatever it is, years later, and now we have these presentations, and we have empirical evidence to show that we were really on the right track,
Cutting edge.
or maybe we're on the right track. And it's a little play on words based on your track here. So, so I have to say that for me personally, it's very rewarding to see this. It's validating. And it's, back in the day, you guys are still pretty new, but cops, when they started hearing about, taking care of kids, doing this, having whatever, the first thing you always heard out of the mouth is, listen, I'm a cop, I'm not a social worker. Isn't that true? And what we found out is that cops are more social workers than maybe a lot of social workers is, because we're the ones that have the first intervention opportunities. Because if you're a parent and you called and you showed up before the fire department because a child drowned, a baby drowned, you don't just say, okay, it's not my job, I'm not a social worker, here's your dead baby, and do what you have to do. No, we found ways to comfort, to aid, to intervene in that, terrible incident, and regardless of what it was, could be even the domestic violence that we had to get involved in at times. And so that's what makes a difference. And so why is this so relevant to our community-oriented policing committee?
Well, great question, Mayor Minto. And let me share, too, that 0% of any of this is about people not being held accountable. Everybody should be held accountable with compassion. Behavior is communication. You can't talk a toddler out of a tantrum. And everybody, 8.9 billion, I think that's how many people are in the world. Every single person should be held accountable. So when our systems, and that's cross-sector, your schools, your CASA, your foster care, your churches, your community-oriented policing, I'm very passionate about it. I think everybody needs to know this because it changes who you are. When I learned about it, my trajectory to the entire world, I was never the same after learning about this. And I have an ACE score of 7. I also have a positive childhood experiences score of 7. And that research came out in September of 2019. And it has there's 7 questions, 2 questions about resilience as an individual, everything. Yeah, I'm going to forward it to you, Mayor Minto, because I know your heart, and I think, I get this. The rest of it is all about community. Do you have more than 2 non-parental adults? Do you have people at the school that you feel close to? Do you have traditions? And I'm getting angel hugs. Do you have traditions in your church or your culture? It's all about this, because this is holistic. That's why when we developed TREC, my colleague Craig Beswick and I lives in El Cajon. We're the 2 TREC pioneers. We wanted it to be a mile deep and an inch wide, built on a granite foundation. No one could refute or dispute and say that research is not accurate. This is the largest public health study in the nation, right here in La Jolla, in San Diego. So we're like ground zero. And so I feel, if there's anything as a servant leader, Mayor Minto, if there's anything that I can help or support with in any way, I would be humbled and grateful and honored to do that. I don't know if you're city wants to become a TRECer, you'd be the first in the world. Just saying, we're meeting with National City Chamber of Commerce next month, and they want to be the first Chamber of Commerce to be TREC accredited in our nation. So cutting edge back then in 2004, another opportunity for cutting edge. So I'm here to serve.
Great. Well, other comments from Brian?
There you go. That worked. Thank you. Thank you for coming in, Ms. Brown. And I know nothing about you, so bear that in mind as I'm just reading your stuff here. And I have a great deal of respect for Mayor Minto and his opinions on things. And so it's very nice to hear the positive comments that I'm hearing. Also coming from a place of I protect my babies every day, and I have lots of people come to my school and want access to my kids. And I'm 43 years in now and been doing it since I started. So I'm reading some of the things here about students of unity, respect, consciousness, and energy, trauma-informed yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. And I'm hearing a lot of what sounds sort of Eastern mysticism, religious, whatever. Is there a backdrop to this that I should know of some sort of religious bent? Or
Yeah, no, but a great question, and thank you for that. So the clarity of our entire TREC model, it does intentionally have spirituality woven into it, and it is not a religious doctrine. We don't have anything in there on any of the Eastern or the Christian or the Catholic or any of them. Spirituality is believing in a higher power, something greater than yourself. And we're all spirits in here having a human experience. And so it's the spirituality of the connectivity of building trusted relationships. So nothing about religion, like zero.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go with Annette.
So first of all, I agree with what you're saying. I've worked in addiction, behavioral health and addiction for 30 years. And there's a saying in addiction that the same person will use again. And so the same thing that you're saying, if you have a child that has behavioral issues, if you don't address the cause of that, that child will do the same, exhibit the same behavior over and over again. And I'm wondering if you have approached the behavioral health organizations in San Diego County about offering these services. You could probably guess the ACE scores of the participants in those programs extremely high. It's always an assumption that when someone enrolls in a substance abuse program, substance use disorder program, that they have a history of trauma, they have a history or they have a diagnosis of a co-occurring disorder. So the resources for the people that work there would be invaluable. So I don't know if you have, but I strongly encourage you to reach out to those organizations.
Yeah, thank you so much. So two things come to mind. So Dr. Bruce Perry wrote a book with Oprah Winfrey titled "It's Not What's Wrong with You, It's What Happened to You." And as I was listening, that was resonating, their book. And I am right now Institute for Public Strategies that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So I'm on their booty binge under a drinking initiative leader sector for quite a few years now. And we address all of that. And so excitedly, they also are right in their process of becoming TREC accredited. And that'll be, that ripple effect will be with Riverside, LA, and San Diego. So, it's like we're starting at the beginning with those that want to start. And then hopefully when people stay on course, like Mayor Minto back from 2004, have this all reaffirmed now. We're excited about the ripple effect because I'm blessed to work with individuals and organizations and nonprofits literally all over this nation. Could be Guiding Reins in Florida that helps veterans with equine therapy, and anyone that reaches out, I'm just grateful to meet with and explore possibilities. And so yes, I absolutely agree. And addiction ran in my family, and I know what's behind the addiction. And so the more we can humanize, it's a big part of what we talk about in TREC. How do we humanize all of our spaces with each other, where we live, where we work, where we pray, and where we play?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Something else?
Yes, two things. One, as you were speaking, Mayor, and you were given that experience back in 2004 of seeing things and then say what's contributing and stuff. That reminded me that there was a takeaway that has stuck with me for, since the mid-'90s when I first heard Felidia and Anda brief on this, was his summary of what he was seeing on some of the behaviors was the engagement in high-risk health behaviors. And it made me think of what the training that we got last month on the e-bikes and the e-motos and the young kid that almost ran into the side of my car yesterday in front front of my house that high-risk health behaviors drives us crazy to see these kids driving around fast and not paying attention to the laws and safety and everything. It's fun as hell. It's a high-risk health behavior. And so much of, back to law enforcement a little bit, law enforcement, military, there's a lot of different careers that are high-risk health behaviors, and they're fun as hell. Sorry, they're really fun to do, but they have a toll. And recognizing the high-risk health behaviors, and one of the things that Felitti drove home way back then was cigarettes. Tobacco was an entry drug into the rest of them at down around 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. It's like, cigarettes at 8 years old? What the heck? And it's, why would an 8-year-old pick up a cigarette and smoke it? To change the way they feel. It's that simple. That's all any of us are constantly doing. We're constantly moving through the world, changing the way we feel. If we're cold, we put a jacket on. If we're hot, we turn on the AC or whatever. We take a drink. Or if we get stressed, we take a different kind of a drink. We punch somebody. We're constantly, as humans, trying to adjust the way we feel. And now moving over to what you were bringing up, Mike, is the terminology sometimes. I remember doing some training with some police officers in the 90s, and the guy I was teaching with, a psychiatrist, we were teaching them, we were saying, okay, if you do these things, mindfulness, yoga and stuff, and I go, I can't tell them to do yoga. These are cops. They're not going to do yoga. He goes, but it works. It took me a while to understand that the languaging of what we call it can be important on how we engage out into how do we get people to do it. Mindfulness itself is not a spiritual practice, but it can have spiritual effects. It's simply paying attention to what's going on in the body. Well, those of you in uniform, you've gone out, you've gone tactical training, you do a duck walk out a certain way to do something with a certain kind of a weapon, you do certain things. That's mindfulness. Oh, could that be a yoga move? Yeah, they're informed by yoga moves. So much of martial arts and yoga have a lot in common because it's body movement. So how we language it can be important on how it gets received. As to, I hear you, I don't want to teach my kids a bunch of spirituality necessarily because I get a flack from the parents and everything else. Well, but I could have the kids move. They're doing it anyway. I can have them pay attention to their body sitting in their chair, help them recognize when they're getting dysregulated so that they can regulate. And I'm thinking, yeah. So back to engaging with law enforcement, it clicked. It's like, if I would have only known when I was dealing with a kid out in the field that, oh, by the way, I get why you're running away. I get why you threw that rock, because it kind of felt good, didn't it? Yeah. That's an entry level into, why'd you do it? Well, I don't know. That's a common answer from a kid. Well, I don't know why I did it, but it sure felt good. And how do you know? Well, that's where mindfulness comes in. Well, I know it felt good because I felt the adrenaline rush or something like that.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks. Mike, anything? Yasmin? No, Captain? Anything down there? Great. Have anything, Carl?
Nothing you want to hear.
Okay. All right, Dana, thank you.
Thank you so much. Much
It's
love
so
and light
good
to
to
all of
see
you.
you, too.
Bless you for what you do.
All right, that takes us to item number 5, community values.
I don't have an update, but I think maybe we skipped 3 at the front end.
We did? Oh, we sure did. I guess I shouldn't have circled that before going on. All right, well, let's go back to number 3 first. Updates on neighborhood watch and crime prevention. So you thought you were getting away with it.
I was going to wait patiently until you came back to me, but I'll keep it short and sweet. We are currently working on, I have a few scam and fraud presentations that I'm doing with the community. Specifically at this moment, I'm targeting mobile home parks, since that's where most of our seniors reside. So I think it's really important that we get this information. So I've been going around and we've been doing those. We will be at the Unity Fair this Wednesday, so stop by our booth. And then as for Neighborhood Watch, we actually have had some interest pick up. Nothing that is scheduled at this moment, but yeah, people are starting to want to restart their Neighborhood Watch. So maybe just a reminder for the public that Neighborhood Watch is not just for residents, it's also for apartment buildings. We have Apartment Watch and then Business Watch for any businesses that might be experiencing any kind of crimes or anything that they want to get together. Those are things that we offer. But that is all that I have for you, Mayor. Thank you for circling back.
You're welcome. Thank the city manager. I've probably just gone on. Okay. Anything on community values, Mark, at all? Questions? Okay. All right, then. Let's go. Well, I guess we're doing the Unity Fair, right? I guess we'll get a report on that after it happens. All right, let's do communication for committee and staff. Okay, I'll just start down here. Brian?
It's been a privilege and a joy and a thrill to be with you all. And for 43 years, I'm going to retire June 30. So,
Oh, God bless
thank you very much for having me be a part of your group, and I'll try to encourage the next principal to be here.
It's okay, we'll strong arm.
When you lose a great kid like Katro at our school, I mean, I have to go out. There's nothing left to stay around for. So, anyway.
He didn't turn out too badly. At least he didn't go to the fire service, thank goodness. All right, anything next?
No major news from CASA, but I will introduce myself because I'm new. I'm Kate Duffy. I run youth programs at CASA, and I'm here to replace Rebecca Brandstetter. She's at a conference in Sacramento right now, but she retires at the end of the month. So it'll be me from here on out for CASA.
And you said your name's Kate?
Kate, yes.
Thank you. Did
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This is a good time to educate yourself, share information. This week in particular, there are resource fairs and information available, and it's just a really good time to, since we're talking about resiliency, to really pay attention to our mental health.
Great, thank you. Anything else, Mark?
I suspect this committee probably talked about this back in 2022, but Santee and the Sheriff's Office partnered on a Safe Santee program in 2002. It's a two-part program where the Sheriff's Department has cameras that they own that have been prominently placed around the city as a crime deterrent, can also be used as a tool for investigation. The second part of it is residents and businesses voluntarily either directly sharing camera footage or letting the Sheriff's Department know they have cameras. So if something happens, that sheriffs can look at those cameras that have been listed in the registry as a potential resource for investigations. But we do have an item coming forward to council this Wednesday to amend the original Safe Santee program. We're going to be adding additional cameras at several parks and trails throughout the city to improve the eyes that are out there to address some of the issues that the Sheriff's Department has been seeing. And at the May 27th meeting, Captain Katro will be giving another update on e-bikes, similar to what you heard here, but with a little additional updated information. And council also put money in this year's budget. They're going to have the policy discussion. No decisions have been made to possibly provide some automated license plate reading cameras to the Sheriff's Department. So if we chose to do that, we did something similar in Poway where the city would fund it, but the cameras would belong to the Sheriff's Department. They would be responsible for where they're placed and any data that comes off of them, and therefore we'd be following the Sheriff's Department policy on the use of the cameras. We're going to be having an introductory policy discussion with council on that at the May 27th meeting.
Great, thank you. Yasmin?
So as it's been mentioned, on Wednesday, we have our Unity Fair. This is the third annual that the Santee School District has hosted. So it's going to be at Chet F. Harrod from 4 to 6 p.m. And it's open to anyone in the community. We'll have different live performances. We'll have food vendors. I think we have about 20 different community-based organizations coming out, the fire department, sheriff's department, kids zone, family kind of zone, family area. It's going to be really fun. So it's open to everyone, and come enjoy.
Great. Captain?
All right. So since this is a community-oriented policing meeting, a couple of things that the city manager brought up are important: the safe streets and the LPR cameras. Just to touch on that for a minute. The Safe Street programs is a collaboration with the community. It's identifying problems in the community or problem areas in the community and putting in resources to make that area safer. Safe Streets is just a recording camera. Does not collect data other than raw video. and placing those cameras strategically in the city at certain places that we've identified through listening to the community members and our law enforcement stats and analyzing the problems. We put those cameras at positions where they'll be most beneficial to record things. If a crime does occur in that area or maybe a vehicle's fleeing the scene, we can get that information. Makes people safer on the trails and in parks if there are vandalisms, on the lower level crimes. When it comes to the license plate reader, and we'll get way more into depth into that in the future, but the license plate reader system, that is where it will actually collect license plate information. It puts a vehicle at a certain place at a certain time. And the benefits to the community are tenfold when it comes to those license plate readers. Having a video is great, but if your house gets burglarized in the middle of the night, I can run the vehicles that left that area in that 30-minute window, which will probably be very few in the middle of the night, and I will get a lead on that suspect vehicle that got away with your belongings or your vehicle, maybe stole your vehicle in the middle of the night. And that will give us that lead, and it just closes the loops on the investigation. So we follow California law when it comes to license plate readers. Senate Bill 34 is our main governing body when it comes to that. When it comes to the sharing, when it comes to sharing with federal governments, we do not share. So we're going to get all into that, and I think people will be pleased with that. Just moving forward to a little lighter subject with community-oriented policing, we like to use the SARA model when we're trying to deal with problems. I know the mayor's probably familiar with the SARA model. It starts off with scanning, identifying the problem. How do you identify the problem? You listen to the community members. We go take crime reports. We see where the problems are in the community. So we scan it, we identify it. The next is to analyze the problem. We research it. We figure out you got to understand the problem. Okay, who are the suspects? Who are the victims? What's the location like? And so once you do all that, then you can come up with a plan. And once you come up with that plan through your analysis process, you basically respond to it. You act on it. And recently in Town Center Park East, over the weekend, specifically on Friday nights, a large juvenile problem consisted with the e-bikes, the e-motos, fights, things of that nature, just juvenile delinquency behavior. And so with that, we put deputies out there, and we also put one of our, what's called a Skywatch. It's a telescopic tower that you see usually during holidays. They put it in the shopping centers, and it could be manned. It could have cameras. It can, and it's basically a crime deterrent. So when people see and it flashes, it's very visible. It's not secret. It's high visibility. We want people to know that law enforcement or a tool is there monitoring them or watching them, especially during holidays. So we implemented that at the Town Center Park, along with the deputies that you see in the crowd here today. And I'd like to report that the incidents went pretty much to zero during those times that the Skywatch was there and our deputies were there. So the last part of the SARA model is assessment. Did it work? Do we need to change our tactics? Do we need to do things better? Can we stop it? Is the crime done? Is the problem done? So that's a constant that never ends in law enforcement, never ends for a city. So, but you do it through listening through the community and what are the problems for the community. And I'm glad that we're not having the drive-bys and the shooting, the bank robberies and things of that nature like other cities deal with. I'm happy that it's a juvenile problem and that we can address that. If we're going to have problems, that's a decent one to have versus the other ones I mentioned of gang problems and drug problems, which, again, we do have people in our community that use and things of that nature. But the juvenile problem is a good one to have, and we'll continue to press on it. That's it. And I'll see you on June 3rd with my son.
Lieutenant? Anything else?
All this talk about safe streets, something that I hear from the public that I just want to address is often people have the concern that by registering their cameras, they believe that we have kind of this big brother access to cameras, and we just want to say that that is not the case. Simply by registering, it just shows us that you have a camera that's registered. Therefore, our detectives can go and ask you for that footage. So yeah, just something that's a common concern that I hear from the public is that people automatically assume that that'll give the sheriff's office accessibility into your cameras. So that is all. Yes, sir.
Thanks. Staff?
I had a question around that. It might be useful for anybody that maybe is watching on SanteeTV to explain that, actually I'm going to make an assumption and then you can tell me if the assumption's even close, that even though it's registered, a detective can't just go up there and take that data, they're still going to have to be voluntarily handed it over or search warrant or something like that. Or maybe it is.
I think there's two ways to register. I think if someone wanted to register direct access, they could.
Yes.
Or they can just register like.
So the direct access is usually with businesses, like a Target or Walmart or some type of business can actually give us direct access if they want. A business can choose that. Typically with the homeowners, like Jocelyn said, it's just to let us know where a camera, so if on a street there's a burglary, that detective can go and look at that street and go, oh, we have 4 people with Ring cameras in that area that registered. We're going to go canvass the area anyways because most people won't register that they have a camera. We'll be able to just see their camera. But I still have to knock on a door and say, hey, your neighbor got broken into. I notice you have a camera. Does it work? Does it not work? Do you have video? Would you mind giving it to me? So that's it.
Staff, anything?
No, sir.
Great, thank you. Carl, do you have anything? Come on up.
2 questions. One was based on the juvenile problems you had at Town Center Park, and you did all the right stuff, and they all went away. Okay, I think we all know they didn't really go away. Do we know where they went? Because they're just going to go someplace else.
That's a good question, Carl. No, they just don't go away forever. They will migrate, or you at least, what you're trying to do is where families are trying to access that park for good reasons, you're trying to make it less desirable for either criminal activity or delinquent activity. So yes, part of a goal or success is by the problem not being there anymore. Where does it go? We'll know when it pops up again. That's the best way I can answer that question. Or if it does pop up again, which it can.
Right, yeah. What's that?
Yeah. And that's pretty typical of any action you take like that.
Yeah, no, I know it. It's just, I'm just making a point that the kids aren't saying, well, we can't go to the park anymore, so let's just stay home.
I'm under no delusions that this problem has been solved forever.
Right.
I would also encourage people online to share information and contact the sheriff's department, because I think we all see things that are posted online and Facebook. The sheriff's department does not monitor Facebook, so if people are seeing behavior that they have concerns about, contact law enforcement.
Right, exactly. And on that note, you've been on board for a couple months, and just want to say I've gotten more great info out of you since you've been here than I got out of your last 2 predecessors. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. The other question I have it just has to do with cameras. Okay, we've got a camera at Shadow Hill Park. Our pole says, area under 24-hour surveillance. There's no camera up there. What is there a liability issue? Somebody's there and they say, well, I just got robbed, but there's a camera up there, so we should be able to find out who did it.
I don't know the status of that camera. Let me look. If we do have cameras, there are state retention requirements associated with how long that we need to keep the video. So in my prior experience, that can be a hurdle to having cameras up. A, you need a camera that's high enough resolution that it can actually be a tool, and then B, the amount of storage you need to store, which is why some of the sheriff cameras are great, because we don't have to deal with the storage component. But let me find out about the status of that camera.
Okay, my point is there is no camera up there. My
Okay.
point is you've got a tower, you've got a sign that says it's under video surveillance 24 hours a day, and there is no camera up there. That's known.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my point.
So the question is there liability saying we have a
Yeah.
camera?
There's no
All
camera
down.
up there. Take the damn sign down.
They probably want it there for people to think there's a camera.
Okay. Yeah, and it probably does act as a certain amount of a deterrent. But anybody that knows, especially now that I've said it on SanteeTV.
Well, thanks a lot, Carl.
Yeah, that's my concern. Okay.
All right, thanks. Hate when that happens. All right, so that takes care of communication from deputies. Did you have anything for us? You sure this is your opportunity? Complaints about your leadership? Whew, scared you for a second, did I? All right, then. We're going to call this meeting closed. Adjournment at 14:56. Thank you.